Wildfire smoke from Canada causing apocalyptic-like smoke to smother the Northeast, causing some of the worst air quality in the world. It's also fueling some conspiracy theories. While the official explanation for what sparked the haze is lightning striking unusually dry forests, the theories range from space lasers, ANTIFA arsonists, the deep state cabal going scorched earth, and even aliens?
Meanwhile, here's what Fox News commentators had to say regarding the health warnings around the smoke.
Look, the air is ugly, it's unpleasant to breathe, and for a lot of people, they get anxiety over it. But the reality is there's no health risk. Okay, there's EPA research. They've done lots of clinical research on asthmatics, on elderly asthmatics, on children, on elderly with heart disease. Not a cough or a wheeze from any of them. We have this kind of air in India and China all the time. No public health emergency.
Speaking of, do you notice, like, in all the coverage of, Bill Ware, the tailpipes, all this stuff, they never, ever mention the fact at the top that China is the #1 polluter in the world. Never.
Yeah, this is like clean air in China. I mean, it's really bad. They in the winter, they never turn on their scrubbers for the air pollution because they don't care. Weir has no idea what he's talking about. This doesn't kill anybody. This doesn't make anybody cough. This is not a health event. This has got nothing to do with climate. First off, this is wildfire smoke. This is natural. This is not because of climate change. It's not because of fossil fuel, internal combustion engines. He just has no idea what he's talking about.
All right, I take exception to a few of the things that guest said. I definitely coughed. I was scooting back to my apartment, and yeah, I started. This was before I realized what was going on, and I started coughing a lot out of nowhere, and I was worried I was getting sick. It's not. It's absolutely the air quality. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this. I don't know whether the it's not particularly unhealthy or harmful. That could be the case, but I definitely did cough. Not the end of the world, but he said nobody coughs from this, and that is absolutely not true.
I love that he started this off with the air is ugly. It's not going to kill you. You'll be fine.
But he is right. How isn't he that other countries, China, India, have less good air quality and are massive polluters, and speaks to the difficulty of confronting environmental issues when other countries don't take the problem as seriously as we do, right?
I don't know. I think saying other people have bad air quality doesn't make our air quality any better. Sure. It's like a race to the bottom. I think, of course, they're going to cite China, but they're ignoring the U.S. military and how much pollution is put into the atmosphere thanks to the United States military. I'm sure Fox would not cover something like that. I think everyone has a role in addressing climate change. I think it's also a factor that nations like all of the European nations, the Western nations, had a chance to industrialize and rely on coal burning and fossil fuels in a way that many other countries around the world didn't have the chance to industrialize and pollute to the extent that we did. Now climate change is a problem. How do we handle this situation where we were able to accelerate ourselves into a very modern economy using fossil fuels, and we expect other nations to not do the same as we did, right? That puts them in a tough position. There needs to be some fairness there. I think Fox's inclination to throw any doubt on the idea that these wildfires were caused by climate change, which would cause higher temperatures, which has caused drier forests in Canada, which resulted in lightning striking the ground and it causing wildfires and that smoke coming here. They would rather make up other theories, along with the many conspiracy theories that we've had, that I wouldn't be surprised if Fox took up in the coming months. People saying
go ahead.
That it was direct energy weapons, or DEWs. Marjorie Taylor Greene talked about the Jewish space lasers. They were implicated as potentially causing wildfires as well. And that there's some kind of global cabal that controls these lasers that is causing the fires.
All right, I don't think any of that.
You don't think Fox is going to go for that? There are people going for that.
No. But I mean, Fox was talking about, I think, in fairness, right, there is some question. Look, climate change is happening, and it's contributing to problems, and we should talk through strategy. I agree with Michael Schellenberger, a guest we have on the show often, who says it's real, and we should talk about what policies we can have to mitigate its harms without undoing the progress we've made, because we're not going to unindustrialize. And in fact, more people died in extreme weather events before we had industrialization, because now technology actually helps people live better. We want to mitigate the harms associated with that. But also, there have been forest fires since the dawn of time. There's also some, my understanding is forest management issues, at least in the U.S. I don't know if it's different in Canada, that have contributed to increased forest fires. I'm not downplaying the possibility, or maybe it's even a likelihood, that climate change contributed. But it was a lightning strike. These things have happened. We want to mitigate the harms regardless. So that doesn't really speak to anything. But a lot of, I think, progressive activists or environmental activists want a knee-jerk. Yep, climate change. Climate change did this. We don't know exactly that this was caused by climate change.
I think the extreme weather events that we're going to see because of climate change, this is an example of what those will be like. And so it makes it a good time to have the conversation about, are we going to invest in transitioning to renewable energy as a country? We just had a whole debacle over the debt ceiling and how much money the government is spending, when in fact there's a higher sticker price if you really want to run the numbers. What is the consequence of not spending trillions of dollars now to address climate change and transition to renewable energy? How much money are we going to spend on rebuilding farmland after disasters? How much money are we going to spend mitigating the impact of flooding on our food supply and purchasing food from other nations? How much money are we going to spend on relocating people whose homes are now not livable because they're underwater? Mm-hmm. I think it's a good time to have that conversation, because are people going to have to move out of New York City if this was the air quality all of the time and Canada was burning a ton? I think there are actually health consequences to breathing in this air quality all of the time. What's then the impact on healthcare spending, right? So there's a much higher price associated with letting present trends continue and not transitioning to renewable energy in the case of mitigating the impact of climate change on us. And I don't think we're ever going to get to the place where we can convince people like Kevin McCarthy that actually we need to invest in something like this, because we're going to have a conversation where it's the how do you pay for it debate. How do we pay for the impacts of climate change? We really can't.
Right. We want to definitely mitigate the harms of climate change. I agree. And I think technology is very promising. And I'm glad we're going to move in that direction. We're moving in the direction of electric cars. That's great, right? Our friend Elon Musk doing his part there. Nobody wants to live in cities that are smoke-filled. Right? I disagree with what that guest was saying on Fox. Like, this is not... I mean, he was saying it was bad in China, and it's bad here. So we don't want it to be like that, right? You don't want to be breathing in. Again, I don't know what the long-term health risks are. My understanding was there are some. I don't know, but it's not pleasant either way. It's clearly disruptive. I wouldn't want to exercise outside while this is going on. Mm-hmm. So we want to talk about ways to prevent that. There was extreme weather before the human causes of climate change, and there will still be extreme weather in the future. Relocating people away from flood zones is something that's got to happen. Maybe you don't choose to live in a flood zone would be my response in the first place. Maybe you should bear some of those costs. It's a little bit different, but I see you not agreeing with me.
No, it's very free market of you, because California, right, just passed, well, it wasn't a law that was passed. It was insurance companies operating in California. A major insurance company said we will not be insuring anyone purchasing homes in California because the risk is too high.
Market at work.
So, I mean...
Move elsewhere. It's too expensive.
Is that a solution, though? Like, now the insurance company won't insure your home, so if you can't afford to lose your home, guess what? You have to live elsewhere. I don't know if that's a viable solution to climate change. And I don't really see the free market incentivize to transitioning to renewable energy either. I don't know what the policy plan then will be, is to build a wall between the U.S. and Canada so that the
smoke goes right over the wall. That's not gonna.
And people climb the wall on the southern border as well.
Well,
right?
I mean, the free market. I mean, that's a little abstract, but I mean, the competition to offer better products and services and technologies to people. Companies are investing in renewables. I'd like government, regulations that stop you from putting solar panels on your house. It's a pain to do that because the zoning and the neighborhood associations are all going to try to stop you. I'd like to get all that out of the way so people can invest for themselves in better green technology. And there's a lot the government can do in terms of not stopping people. I think that would be nice.
You think the government's stopping people from investing in renewable energies?
Yeah, it stops you from putting solar panels on your house. It's a huge hassle if you want to do it.
I think there's just like some concerns with the solar panels being on the house because of the potential dangerous chemicals associated with them and the structural integrity of the houses. Like, I think there's necessary regulations to ensure that the people that have solar panels have them wired correctly and et cetera for the electricity to be used properly. But I think
you say necessary regulation, I hear enemy of progress.
Right. Let the houses burn down while we're let the electrical fires burn suburban houses down of the people who want solar panels. No, but I think a lot of the organic, if you want to call it that, but people deciding or electing to invest in renewable energy is because of the return on investment. In the case of solar panels, wind turbines, it's got a huge return on investment. You have the initial cost. They pay for themselves, wind turbines, within 20 years, depending on how much power they're producing. And maybe that's a good incentive. Also, we have tax credits, right? It's not that people are saying, you know what, there's not going to be any economy at all if the world burns down, so I should invest in this. It's definitely in the interest of fossil fuel companies to continue producing gas and oil and make the most of the reserves that they have tapped right now. I mean, when you look at the immediate incentives, they are for continuing the use of fossil fuels, and it's going to take some intervention to push that incentive towards renewable energy.
I'm happy to lower everyone's taxes evenly. I'm incredibly reluctant to grant industry-specific or, even worse, firm-specific tax reductions, because that's the government picking winners and losers and interfering and rewarding some firms, and it will end up being political, and it will depend on who's better connected, and the government has no idea what are the best investments anyway. And it's worrisome to me.
So how do we get the initial capital into the right hands of people who are going to build renewable energy? You think we can just depend on people to, out of the goodness of their hearts, make that investment?
No, I think it will be, as it becomes increasingly profitable, they'll move in that direction. And I mean, why do inventors and companies come up with new technologies all the time? Because they can profit from it and people demand it. And when it reaches that threshold, it takes on, and that's how it will work out.
And what if the air quality is unlivable before then, Rob?
I mean,
what if we're underwater?
Well, doomsayers keep saying, yes, the planet will end.
The free market will give us
we're all
houseboats.
over. It's too late, and that keeps not happening.
Okay.
So
I'll live in a houseboat, Robbie, and we'll do Rising from our floating studio.
Well, you know, your plane was late today, so maybe your houseboat would get here on time. That'd be great. We can.
Why was my plane late? Because of the smoke. Because of the apocalypse.
You can lower your sort of gangplank and walk over to the Rising. Maybe you won't even have to ride. The water will be so high. We're up here on the 10th floor, and you can just sail right to the window.
The whole world will be Venice. It'll be so romantic.
That sounds very fun. All right, more Rising right after this.